This episode is brought to you by Wanda C. Williams. Too many mamas feel alone, isolated, or are suffering in silence. They exert so much energy in being everything and everyone for their family. Frequently neglecting their own needs, dreams, and desires, they put taking care of themselves last on the to-do list. They can often be their own worst critic and have the scars of perfectionism, doubt, and shame to prove it. Without the support and someone helping them navigate the highs and lows of motherhood while building a business, judgment starts to creep in. Self-expectations distort, and you stop filling yourself up and instead give and do more. Motherhood and building a thriving business is a dream and goal for many. Whether you birth children of your own, adopt, or are naturally nurturing those within your community. Mama entrepreneurs who are supported and held accountable experience more joy and enjoy the fruits of motherhood while building the business of their dreams. They have control of their experiences, and they are so full, they are overflowing with enough to give. Since starting Wanda C. Williams, I have made it my mission to help mama entrepreneurs have a fully aligned business and life overflowing with radiant, abundant joy. And that is why I've created the Joyful Sage Club. The Joyful Sage Club is dedicated to help you conquer the emotional roller coaster of parenting teen to adult children while building a business. Help avoid the common mistakes, stop being what others expect you to be, and help you connect with your inner being and higher self. Taking the words of the late beautiful soul Maya Angelou, I want to be proud when I see you coming. I wish for you to be so full you are overflowing. Aloha, Wanda here. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of Soul Speak. Enjoy. Hello, aloha everyone. Welcome for another session of Soul Speak. And I have another amazing guest. And let me have her introduce herself. Tell us a little bit about you, how many children you have, where you are from, and if you were one of Snow White's 7 dwarfs, which one would best describe you? Bashful, doc, dopey, grumpy, happy, sleepy, or sneezy?
Well, thank you. I'm so excited to be here. I love you. I love what you do. And I'm so happy to be a part of this. So thank you very much. I am Betty Barnett. I'm a master level health and life coach, but right now I'm specializing in money mindset and empowering new coaches to overcome any, limiting beliefs they may have around money. I have 3 children. I have a 26-year-old son, a 17-year-old son, and a 13-year-old daughter. And I have a 3.5-year-old granddaughter, which is lots of fun. You think that you can't possibly love anything as much as you love your kids, and then you have grandkids and you're like, oh, wow, there's room for more.
Wow.
And I live in El Paso, Texas. And I would say I'm happy. I think I've done a lot of that inner work that really helps you to just be at peace no matter what else is going on in the world.
Yes.
Like it just finding that inner peace and knowing that I make myself happy instead of looking outside for that. And I'm happy to be in that place.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And that I would agree. I would concur that you
Yes.
are happy and that it radiates from inside of you out. So amazing. I'm so glad to have you here. So I would love to know, Betty, what is your greatest mama superpower?
I think it's that I'm okay with my kids hating me, and hate's kind of a strong word, but being mad at me or not liking me for a time period or thinking I'm mean. I think when you get okay with that, when you allow it for them to have their own opinions and be mad, and then it empowers you to parent them when they need to be parented, because there's times when they're not going to like what you have to say. They're going to get mad that you tell them no. They're not going to understand why you put restrictions in place, or those types of things. And if you're worried about them always being your friend or liking you, I think it gets in your way of doing the
Yeah.
parenting,
Yeah.
and so I would say that I'm okay with that. And I know they'll come around and they'll love me and they'll see it later.
Beautiful.
But that it's important to be their parent first.
Okay. I love it.
Yeah.
All right. So now we're going to dive into a little bit of the juicy stuff here. So I
Okay.
would love to hear, what was your life like before kids? And then what was it like during? And then,
Mhm.
of course, I know you still have a little one at home, but what's it like? What has it been like as they started to leave the nest?
Yeah. Well, before I was a kid myself,
Mhm.
I never had even a day where I was an adult and not a mom,
Mm,
so I didn't get to experience that.
okay.
I've always had that label of mom for as long as I can remember.
Mm,
And uh, it just was always such a huge priority for me. Like it just was who, as I was growing and learning, and teaching my son how to be, I was also in that process of growing up myself.
okay. So what
You
would you
know,
say you were like as a kid then?
um, ambitious. Uh, um, uh, what's the word I want to use? Rebel. I
Mm,
always wanted to do things my way. I never felt like I had to be a part of the crowd. I never felt like I had to do what everyone else was doing. I just always was very independent and I think mature for my age.
okay.
I was always the friend, like everyone would be like, "Oh, let's go do this and that," and I'd be like, "That doesn't seem like a good idea."
Okay,
We
so
shouldn't do
you
that.
were a rebel, independent, your own self, and then you became a mom.
Mhm.
And being a parent, being a mom was a priority. So, what would you say were, a few of the fun things that you enjoyed early on, and maybe some challenges?
Yeah, so when I think about being a mom with just my oldest son, um, he was a maniac, like an absolute wild heathen. um, just 90 miles an hour all the time. And, I'm really grateful that I was young enough to keep up with him, that we could go just play and have fun and I could give into that energy and I could give it back to him. If I would have had him in my 30s when I had my daughter, no, I don't think I would have been able to handle it. Um, and then, that was just a good time. And then with my other two, they're a little closer together. It was just a little bit of wisdom, a little
Mm,
bit of calming down and being just more at peace with who I was as a mom. I didn't judge, myself against other parents as much. I just wanted to love on them as much as I could. And I felt
mm,
that, as long as they felt loved, everything else would be okay,
okay,
because you're going to make mistakes, but
right. Yeah, that was, I think, my mantra. As long as he knows that he's loved, then I
Mhm.
did okay.
Yes. Yeah.
The mistakes we can cover up and talk about later. So, how was it when your oldest left the nest?
Wow. Well, I've always felt like my job is to create amazing adults.
Mm,
Like it is my job to make them independent and self-efficient and capable and not afraid. And so I know a lot of parents are like, no, I don't want them to leave. I need them here. And I really take pride in the fact that they don't want to be here. That they're ready to go. And
okay.
and so I was proud. I was proud that he was, ready to go out on his own and do his own thing and still wanted to come home and sit in mom's lap. He's like 6'2" and he'll still come sit in my lap.
Oh yeah.
And I love that part of it. But I think that because I had the other two at home, that it wasn't as dramatic because
Mm,
it wasn't quiet in my house.
gotcha.
I wasn't
Yes.
just alone with myself. And
Yeah.
my middle one's about to go to college, next year. And then it'll just be my daughter. And then when I think about her leaving, that's when I get like the pitter patters and antsy. Like I want them to go do their own thing, but then I'm like, I don't know
Yeah.
what's it going to be like.
Right. Yes. It's sort of a catch in your breath,
Mm,
because it is something that you've been working for, right? I mean, it's like, as moms, that is our goal, is to raise them to be independent and to go out. But then at the same time, it's like, oh no, who am I?
yes.
Oh no, what am I going to do? So I love the fact that with your son, you were so proud, right? And it was like your focus was on him and your role. Um, and I guess I'm curious, what do you think was different for you that allowed you to have that perspective? Because there are many moms out there that can't even get to the, yes,
Mm,
I'm proud. Or it's like, yes, I'm proud, but, right? And there's this laundry list of reasons why they can't be happy in the moment. What do you think was
yeah.
different for you?
I think it's been my perspective all along. And I think maybe because I was, 18 and on my own raising kids and having to do that at that age, that I kind of see it as adulthood more so than I think some moms are still like, oh, but he's still my baby. To me, 18 really kind of has always been adult, because that's when I had to be an adult.
Mm,
So maybe that plays into a little bit of my separation of self. Like I
mm,
see him as his own entity and his own, mistakes and triumphs and life to live that isn't mine. And
that is so beautiful
yeah.
and so important to be aware, right? That we
Mhm.
are our own self and they are their own self. Oh, just beautifully said. All right. So I guess you mentioned a little bit, right, that it was easier with him going, knowing you still had two at home, and sort of the catch in your breath thinking about your youngest, right?
Mhm.
Um, how would you say, do you think you struggled with emptiness syndrome? Do you think, what do you think about that concept of, having a syndrome for empty
Yeah.
nest moms
Good.
and dads, right? Empty nest
Yeah.
parents.
Yeah. I see it being a very real thing, and I see it being something that can really deeply affect people, and I get that part of it. I really, really do. Um, but I think that having the perspective that it's my job to ship them off, that it's my job to let them go, um, has really helped me.
Mm-hmm.
Just with that notion. And I think having the older one and the time to prepare for the other two to leave, um, I think I'm making a conscious effort to be really busy by the time my daughter leaves. And
Mm,
I've kind of, I realized that for so long I was just mom. I had forgot who Betty was,
mm,
and I forgot to dream, and I forgot to um, just even take care of me. I was so good at taking care of them and my husband and all the things that they needed to do that I had really put myself way, 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 way back on the burner and forgot that my needs were important. And so
yes.
as my oldest went away, it kind of made me realize that, hey, at some point, I'm just going to be Betty. I'm not going to be, I'll always be mom, but you know what I mean? I'll not be
Right.
mom full time. And so who the hell is Betty?
Mm,
And so I think I've spent these last couple of years trying to figure that out in preparation of, my daughter leaving, so that hopefully the plan is when she leaves, I'm going to be so busy, I'm not even going to notice.
yes, I remember thinking that too, going, oh, I need to plan all these things that I could do,
Granted, along the way, I think a lot of the recognizing that I wasn't dreaming for myself anymore. And who was I, right? It's a lot of that deep work that you mentioned. I was afraid to do, but yet at the same time, because I did that, and I would say because you did that, right? Now you were at this place of happiness from within.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I think perspective is key, right? Recognizing that, I often say to moms, first off, when they tell me how sad they are, is congratulations. Congratulations that your son went off to the military, your son went off to college, or your daughter is off to school, or whatever it is. Congratulations for doing such an amazing job, right? And I think sometimes it shocks them that that's where I go first. Because they don't recognize their own success, right? In that moment, and being proud of what they've done.
Yeah. And I think you and I have been so engulfed in just the power of mindset for so many years that resonates with us, and it makes sense. But it really is all in your mind. It's all how you look at it. And if you're dwelling on the fact that you're alone and you're sad and you miss them, then you're going to get more alone and sad and missing. If you switch it and you start to think of it as pride, and look what they're doing, and look what they're doing, and just change that perspective a little bit, then you get more happiness and pride. So it really is what you appreciates.
Yes.
So the more you're appreciating those negative feelings, the more you're going to get that.
Yes.
So,
yes. Been there, done that for many, many years, right?
Yes.
So I'm curious, did you know you always wanted to be a mom?
Yeah, I think I did, and yeah, I don't think there was ever a time that was a question for me. I mean, I wanted it to do it very differently. Like, I wanted the white picket fence and the husband and then the kids and all of those things. But I always knew it was in me to be a mom.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
so was there other ambitions that you had career-wise, professionally, that you wanted to be growing up?
Oh, yeah. Well, if I go back to when I was very young, I wanted to be a truck driver.
Ooh.
I wanted to be the rough, tough, like, I don't know, out seeing the world. But I grew out of that. And, like the little boys who want to be like Spider-Man when they grow up.
Right.
But I really, I had wanted to be a psychologist. I had a lot of interest just in helping people with their thoughts. And then when I really learned what being a therapist meant, I realized that I was way too empathic for that, and it wasn't right for me. And so I went into marketing, and I had a dream of, being on the marketing team for some NFL. I mean, being on a marketing team for like an NFL team.
Ooh.
Yeah, I thought that would be so fun to like work for some kind of NFL team. And then when coaching became a thing, that's when I decided, I mean, I stopped working and I was a stay-at-home mom for many, many years. But when I originally went to college, that's what it was. My intention was, until I had my other two, and then I stayed home with them.
Okay. So how long were you a stay-at-home mom for all three of your kids then?
So with my oldest, I had to work because it was just me. And so I worked until he was 5 or 6, and then met my husband that I'm with now and had my second son. And then I was a stay-at-home mom from the day I was pregnant with him until my youngest went to elementary school. And then I freaked out. I was like, what am I going to do with my home? Like, I don't know how to be alone all day. And so I'd gone to work for my father-in-law for just a few hours a week. It wasn't, too full time. But it still was, I'm home most of the time with them. It's
Okay.
just kind of when they were at school, I would go to work for a few hours.
All right. So I'm curious, when you were working, right,
Mhm.
when it was just you and your son, did you have any challenges balancing, being the mom, being the breadwinner, maybe having aspirations of, moving up the corporate ladder per se?
Yeah, so with my son, it was really just survival at
Mhm.
that point. You know, it was, I was bartending, and so I could work at night and have him
Mm,
just sleep at the babysitter. So I felt like I still got to be mom all day long.
yeah.
And so I feel like I did my best to still be a stay-at-home mom, even though I had to work back then, because it was important for me to spend that time with him when he was
Yeah.
really little. Um, but I really felt that with my daughter when she went to school and then I decided to go back to work. And I had all three kids at home. And, you know, I was used to cooking dinner every night and healthy dinners.
Mm,
I was used to doing their homework with them every night and really being a mom. And I felt like my daughter kind of got the shit end of the deal because
mm,
both my boys got to have me home for so long. And then all of a sudden I was working and picking up pizzas on the way home instead of cooking,
yeah.
and you know, being too exhausted to help or play. And I really felt that pull when I went back in you know, when she was younger.
Okay. And so what do you think, was there a way you were able to start to balance and sort of reconcile that, especially with your youngest?
Yeah. I don't know if I ever did a really good job of it. I feel like I was always giving everything like 20%. Like
Mm,
nothing in my life was getting all of me. Like they were all just getting little drips of me.
wow.
You know?
Ooh.
Like,
Thank you for that. Thank you for being so honest. That is, I mean, I could totally relate to that, right? Just
mhm.
remembering being busy all the time and like catching, there's that analogy of catching plates, right?
Yeah.
And just trying like to spin them so that
Mhm.
nothing falls. So, but
Yeah.
now that you are, at such a better place, right? That
Mhm. Mhm.
you are dreaming, you are actively supporting other people, you are, at this place of happiness from within. What would you say are some of the things that allow you to sort of be in balance, to be in a, state of happiness?
Yes, yeah, I'm so glad you asked that because I think I learned from when I was working for somebody else and I was on their time schedule and I had to be there when they wanted me to be there. And if my kids were sick, it wasn't up to me if I just got to stay home. You know, it was, well, I have to go to work, so we're gonna have to figure something else out. Um, so uh, long story short, my father passed away and I had to take care of him. So I kind of had to pull back from before he passed. I had to pull back from that job that I was at for all those years. And after I kind of recovered from that and I had been home again for a while, um, I had that coming to Jesus moment where I was like, now what? And I mean, losing him really made me say, you know what, tomorrow's not promised. Like you need to do what fills your soul and
Mm,
what makes you feel happy. And that's when I decided to pursue the coaching career because I feel like that dream, that seed had always been there
right.
and it was time to honor that. And so as I've built this coaching career, I do it with being mom as the lead, you know, motivation. So I only take clients when the kids are at school. You know, I plan things around being a mom now so that I don't feel like I'm neglecting them. Like I found that balance by starting my own business and
Okay.
having that control.
Yes, beautiful. I love it. And so, who would you say you are, and what keeps you connected to your sense of self?
That's such a hard question. Because ego wants to put all the labels, you know,
Mm,
I'm mom and I'm friend and I'm coach and I'm wife and, you know, all of those things. And those are all very real and true to me. But if I take all the labels away and I just try to figure out who's Betty,
mm,
um, that's a much harder question, you know? And I think that I'm just somebody who's very compassionate and, you know, a good listener and a good friend, and um, is still that little girl who's ambitious. I'm still that little girl that is a rebel who wants to do things my own way. I don't want to
yeah.
fit into the you know, the round peg.
Mm,
I um, I want to make things the way I want them to be. And uh, I'm happy to dream big now. You know, but it took me a while to be okay with being that person and
yes.
not feeling guilt about having dreams for myself.
Oh, Betty. Yes. Thank you for, sort of acknowledging the ego and then going deep there to
Yeah.
explore who you are, which I find almost just so fascinating, right? That it's like who we are is who we were, but
Yeah.
yet like elevated. Like
Hmm.
the more we learn about each other, the more we learn about ourselves, the more we do, the more we dream. It's like we're still that, rebel, ambitious, curious self, but then it's just so much more. So thank
Yeah,
you for
that little soul that came to this earth to do something. Like it's like when you can connect back to who's that little soul that was in there
that.
before all the stuff happened.
Yeah.
You
Yes.
know, like I use the term true self a lot lately, like when you connect to your true self, um, that's when, to me, it seems like all these doors have just opened up for me. And I really thank Corona for this,
Mm,
because in March, when the whole world got quiet and everyone just stopped for a minute and everyone went home and we all started playing card games with our family, and you know, there wasn't the rush to work and the rush to soccer practice and football and all these things, and we just got to be quiet for a moment. That's when I really started listening to, hey, who are you inside and what is it that you want?
mm,
And I'm really grateful for Corona for that, because now I really feel like I'm starting to listen to what was inside,
mm.
you know, and
That's
being
beautiful.
okay with it.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
because
Being
there's
okay with
still
it.
this, yeah,
Yes.
there's still this, oh, but your kids' needs are more important, and you're being
Mm,
selfish if you're trying to do these things for yourself. And so I'm still kind of fighting that battle and slowly getting okay with, but if I honor my true self, what if I'm empowering my children to do the same thing
yes.
instead of
Oh my
taking away
goodness.
from them?
Yes.
Mm.
Oh, I love that. So I'm curious, what do you do when you notice that you're out of alignment with your true self?
Mm. So I tried to encourage my clients for years to meditate. And I was one of those people who thought it was a great suggestion, but never did it for herself. Here, you
Yes.
should really do this, but I don't have the time for it. You know? And during Corona too, I've really gotten good at that. And I
Mm,
wake up purposely a little bit early so that I can come down to my office. I can turn on a meditation and I can sit quietly. And I've found it to be as incredibly empowering as everyone says it is,
mm.
you know, but it took me a long time to give in to even try it, you know?
I hear you. There's always these perceptions of how meditation is supposed to be, right? So my struggle was I'm not doing it right, or I'm
Right.
not doing it long enough. And COVID did allow me to experiment. There were some days where I just wanted to meditate all day. because it was so amazing, right?
Yes.
And then there were other days it was like, oh, 5 minutes is good. And then
Yeah.
it was realizing, oh, there is no right way. There's my way. There's anyone's way, as long as you do it,
Yeah,
however that is.
I totally agree. And now I feel like I wish I would have done it sooner, like that whole, wow, why was I fighting that all these years?
Yeah, yeah.
And I do, even just like in the moment when you're cooking dinner and the phone rings and, the kids are coming in and, there's so much stuff on your plate. Like I will take that minute to just quiet my mind for a second and come back to the present moment. Because I think the anxiety lives in the past and in the future. And so
Yes.
if you can just bring yourself back to right now, I'm stirring pasta. Like I'm good. There's a roof over my head.
And it's a beautiful moment to be stirring pasta, right? Like I did this experiment during, COVID, where I tried to be present when I was washing dishes. And I recognized that there were parts of my body that was like, what are you doing? I'd be, turning away. I would, like be pushing away and it was like, no, focus, get all your attention. And then it was so much more enjoyable. It was like, oh, I'm in this moment washing this spoon and it is fantastic.
Yes. Yeah. And when you really get that, you can find happiness in any moment and you can alleviate, because I'm someone who dealt with anxiety and depression for many years. And so finding that little bit of, you're in the future, Betty, that's why you're feeling anxious. Like you need to just bring it back to right now. And I think a lot of moms can learn from that. I think they're like, well, what if they don't graduate from college?
Right.
What if they're out drinking? What if they're doing this? What if they're doing that? And you can what if yourself to death, And so I tell people all the time, well, answer the question, well, what if they're out drinking? Well, then, what would I do about it? And actually answer the question and bring yourself back to the present and just alleviate some of that anxiety by answering those questions. What would I do? Well,
Right.
This is what I would do in that situation.
Yes.
So
beautiful. Present moment awareness is so critical. And I would say, not just for an empty nest mom, I would not say not just for moms or dads, I would say as human beings, it's critical that we learn to become present in the moment. Because as they say, right, today is a gift.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Beautifully said.
Thank you. So, Betty, what would be the number one life lesson you would give to a new mama?
I think the most important one for me that I would say is keep your friends. Make sure you surround yourself with good girlfriends that you can laugh with and you can grow with and you can cry with, and you can lean on when you're feeling like a bad mom, or you can lean on when you're feeling like a bad wife, or whatever it is, and they can help lift you up, and then you can help lift them up, because there's joy in that too. Like when my friends used to call me back in the day and I'd be like, it's okay, I've got you, and then that makes you feel better. But I think there were a few years there where I got so involved with just being mom and wife that I let some of those friendships slip away. And I really regret that, because my friends are what got me through all those hard times. Throughout all the 26 years, it was leaning on those girlfriends that you could be totally honest with that really got me through when times were tough, and when they were great, and when they were happy, like being able to call that friend and say, oh, I'm so glad this happened, or you did this, or he took his first steps. And so for me, it would be, don't lose your friends. Don't get in that place where you're so focused on your children that you forget you need that too.
Beautiful. I love that. Yeah, there are times where I recognize, it's usually the regrets, right? It's the letting go of those relationships that are crucial, right? And so I guess I want to ask you, for a mom that's sitting there going, oops, too late. I may have already, let go of those bridges. Hopefully it didn't burn them, right? Or hadn't thought about friendship and thinking, how would I even begin to find a friend? What would you offer?
Yeah, and I would say that some of those friendships that you let go, it's for a reason. I think each friendship has a season. There's some that will last you a lifetime, but there's a lot that are seasonal. Like in my 20s, the people I hung out with then, maybe not as much now.
Right.
So there's seasons to friendships. So you want to find people who are where you are in this stage of life. And so like if you're a new mom with toddlers, join a group with toddlers and other moms. Put yourself out there to find people who have the same interests as you or who are going through the same things as you. And build those friendships and let it be okay if there's just a season.
Okay. Yes. I so appreciate that. Right. Because I remember thinking, oh, football season's over. I'm a football mom, right? We meet every week and we do all these things. Then what happens to that friendship, right? And it's recognizing that, yes, it was for a season. It was for 4 years, or it was for 6 years, and it was great. And from time to time, we do catch up, but I don't need to feel regret or feel badly, right? Is recognizing, no, that was a good season, and I can still be there for them, but at the same time, where am I now, right? Like what you're saying is, where are you now? And find people that are where you are. Beautiful. I love it.
Yeah, those relationships, they change and they morph and they grow, and the ones who are meant to stick with you forever, they will.
Yeah.
And and the ones who weren't, just be grateful for the time you had with them. That they brightened your day or whatever.
Yes, I love that. All right, so my last question for you, Betty. What brings you joy?
Okay, I'm gonna fight the guilty feeling and say that it really is my coaching career right now. I love that so much. I love working with my clients and watching them create a completely new reality for themselves within the confines of their current reality. Like the same job, the same husband, the same kids, but all of a sudden they see it so differently, and they get to experience a different level of happiness or whatever. A level of abundance and wealth, because now that I'm focusing on money. And there's that part of me who says, oh, you should say your kids, and because that's true too,
right?
But I'm really at this stage of life where I'm trying to let it be okay, that really does bring me joy.
Yes. I am so grateful that you said that, right? Because that brings me joy too, right? Coaching brings me, and I would say whenever I am aligned with my true self, brings me joy, right? And so it is being mom, it is being a wife, it is this and that, but yet at the same time, the pinnacle of it is when I can bring other people in alignment with their true self. There's nothing better. There's nothing better.
Yeah, and it really is that yes, that brings me joy. And then when I'm joyous, then I get to be more joyous with my kids and my husband, and in that place too. So it's exponential when you find something that really brings you joy.
Yes, a gift that keeps on giving.
Yes.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Betty. This has been so empowering, so insightful. I can't wait to share. So yes, thank you again.
Thank you. I'm so honored to be here. I love what you're doing, and I love the women you're going to help, and your mission and your heart, and the fact that you're following your true self to bless others. So I honor you for that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes.